Revelation 912. From the 13th of May 1939. Mastery of the creature. Strong will. By virtue of the tremendous will power which a spiritually striving man can acquire on earth, it is possible for him to make all creatures subject to himself, and this process is based solely on an extraordinary use of divine power. It is not man as such who brings about the subjugation, but the will of man, subordinated to the divine will, calls upon extraordinary power from God and is now able to influence all creatures in such a way that they must obey his will. And it will submit willingly, because it has no will of its own, but stands constantly in the will of God, so that therefore nothing else is demanded from the respective being than what is intended for it by the eternal divinity. To make the will of God one's own will, that is truly the key to all wisdom and to every spiritual success. And thus man has not to fear the slightest resistance of any entity as soon as he has given up his will, that is, has made the divine will his will, because now man no longer directs his will himself, but the divine care has, so to speak, taken all thinking and acting into its hand, and man now lives, as it were, according to his destiny from eternity. And man was set by God as ruler over all creatures. And he let this rank be disputed by the one who brought about the apostasy of man from God. Their will became weak, but it rebelled against the divine will and was thereby also subject in many respects to the creature, which, as the bearer of the divine will, for its part, dominates man, and so the latter is often dependent on the activity assigned to the creature. That is, this sometimes has a hostile effect on man as long as he has not reached spiritual maturity and thus does not possess the will in the strength possible for him. Therefore man still has to make great use of his life on earth when he considers that it is his right to form his will in such a way that complete control of the creature is possible for him. And if he achieves this strength of will, his way on earth will also be much easier, because everything will then be subject to him, and also his spiritual influence on the beings subordinated to him will be an extremely beneficial one, and likewise make the way on earth easier for the beings, since just one will controls everything and no different currents influence these beings unfavorably. And so again all striving of man will have to apply to only one name, to recognize the will of the eternal divinity and to subordinate oneself completely to it, and all struggle on earth will be an easy, but successful one. Amen.